There is the 5-second board being shown. And next thing that will happen is the red lights will come on, which they do now. And they'll go out and the race gets underway. It's not a great start from Bradley Horsnell in number 58 from pole position. He's going to be fourth or worse as they head into the first corner. So it's Liam from the outside of the front row that has the lead, and it's Daniel Garrett in second place. And it looks like Jeff Peake in third position as they turn their way through Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. It looks like they all more or less managed to make it through there. So it's M and Garrett and Peake, and then beg your pardon, the 52 car. Yes, that is Alan Harmon, up from I think about 12th, is up into 5th position as well. Level pegging with Jeff Peake, so Alan Harmon has made a pretty good start to the race. There's number 8, Sean Brame, as I say, winner of Cadwell Park. He was a lap down though in the earlier race today in these very difficult conditions that the drivers have been confronted with. But here are the first two. They're side by side very nearly as they head up to Surtees, but it is Liam leading from Daniel Garrett in second.
Yep, Liam has managed to survive this time. He of course had to work his way through from the back after a spin early in race number 1, but he continues to be out front. He takes a very tight line which then sends him wide in towards the corner of Clearways, but he seems to get through okay there with not too much ground lost to the car behind him. So him and Daniel Garrett continue on their way, and then for third place is going to be this battle which was a royale battle in race number 1, back together again. Jeff Peake being passed here by Jack Linus on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend. It's the blue and fluorescent orange car which tries to get to the inside of Jack Linus but can't squeeze his way through, so Jeff Peake for now holds on to that third position, and then behind them the very slow starting Brad Horsnell. Unfortunately, I think pole position has maybe been the worst place to be today in these wet conditions, so he now down to 5th place just ahead of number 52 Alan Harmon.
And Daniel Russell getting up the inside of Alan Harmon up at Druid, so he makes up a place. That is for 6th position. Him ahead of them, the fight for 3rd then, and it's Jack Linus ahead of Jeff Peake now. Bradley Horsnell, after that bad start, is trying to catch onto their coattails. The top two, Em and Garrett, already getting away somewhat from the rest of the field here. Liam, as I say, he started out in Locost, then he went to Sports Specials, won a championship there. His best result this season, he's had a couple of seconds and a 3rd place finish. He was 4th in the championship coming into this weekend. Early on today, he finished the race in 6th position. But Horsnell now, having made that bad start, is now trying to get ahead of Jeff Peake for 4th position as they come through Clark Curve. It looks like he's got his nose just about in front, so he should be ahead as they come up and over the timing line to complete lap number 2.
Yep, so Brad Horsnell now into that 4th position, so that's one ticked off for the man who started on pole position. He now needs to try and make light work of Jack Linus in 3rd position, and then see if he can do anything about those two out front, who are going to be side by side actually in towards Druid's corner, because Liam now having to defend from Daniel Garrett as they turn their way through Druid's corner. The gap has come down to what was just over 0.6 of a second at the line, but I think already to the eye that looks a lot closer than it was. So these two now vying for the lead as they work their way in towards Graham Hill Bend. Quickest lap has come from Brad Horsnell, down in 4th position, so 1:10.189 for that man, and he's going to try and do what he can on the back of Jack Linus as they turn their way in towards Surtees. And I can tell you off screen, Brad Horsnell is going to go round the outside, which becomes the inside for McLaren, and that should see him up into 3rd position as Daniel Garrett's car there very, very sideways. Does he keep it on the track? Yes, he does, just about. And he carries on his merry way. And
there you saw confirmation as well that Horsnell was just about into 3rd position, but it looks like Jack Linus trying to fight back around the outside at Clark Curve. So the number 13 car of Linus, the number 58 car of Horsnell, they are side by side as they come up and over the line. It's just Horsnell ahead by about the width of a wheel as they head over the line. That equated to 24 thousandths of a second over the line between the two of them. But it's Em and Garrett that are sort of now 4 seconds ahead of the rest, and the gap between the two of them is a 1.5 seconds in its own right. These two, well, it is just about now the 58 car of Horsnell that holds on to 3rd position. Then it is Linus, and then it is Jeff Peake in 5th, with a little bit of a gap back to, I think, Daniel Russell. It is in 6th position. They turn their way through Graham Hill Bend and now head onto the short Cooper Straight before they turn left into Surtees, right through McLaren, and head off up to Clearways and Clark Curve to end the lap. Still 2/3 of this race to go, 10.5 minutes remaining of this 15-minute race for the Yokohama Low-Cost Championship. And although Liam is relatively comfortable out in front, there's a good fight still going on here for 3rd place.
Yep, and now that Brad Horsnell has got that clear air, I think he has definitely shown the speed today, especially through qualifying this morning, to try and live with the top two. So let's see if he can try and get away from Jack Linus. He doesn't really need to get away, as long as he's not kind of pressurised and forced into any mistakes. He might actually want to use Jack Linus to his advantage here to try and urge him on up towards the back of Daniel Garrett, and then of course Liam, who still sits there as the race leader by just shy of 2 seconds at the end of the 4th lap of the race. Brad Horsnell goes defensive in towards Druids and then runs slightly wide, which leaves the door wide open for Jack Linus, but he won't find too much grip on that inside, so he stays there in 4th position. You've got Jeff Peake coming into the mix as well now in that number 29 machine, so they are the 3 cars in 3rd, 4th and 5th, and then behind that you've got the number 57 machine, which is just off the tail at the minute of Daniel Russell. But what can Brad Horsnell do? The gap between him and Dan Garrett last time through went up actually by a few hundredths of a second, so it's now 2.7 between him and Dan Garrett there in 2nd place.
So working lap 5 of this Yokohama Locost Championship race, which has been led by Liam from Daniel Garrett and then Bradley Horsnell in 3rd place, Jack Linus 4th and Jeff Peake in 5th. Over the line they come again. This is to complete lap number 5. Lap times in this race, well, best lap so far has gone to Horsnell with a 1:10.189, which is pretty similar to Daniel Garrett's fastest lap time from the earlier race, a 1:10.150, which suggests that overall conditions are perhaps broadly similar than they were in the race earlier on today. They've not really cleared up as that we hoped they would do in between the races. It looks though as if Garrett has taken some time out of Liam already on this lap. It was 1.4 seconds between them at the start of the lap. It looks like a little bit less than that now as they come down through Graham Hill Bend. Liam there with at least one orange wheel on his car. Thought they were all orange in the earlier race, but maybe it was just from one side. And then it's going to be Daniel Garrett behind him. So took 6th win of the season earlier on today, looking to add his 7th. This is round number 12 of 14 that we have in the championship this year. It's been a mixture of double and triple headers for the Yokohama Low-Cost Championship this year, and that's why it's 3 scores that are dropped. Oh, there's a car stopped. There was that on the apron. Was that Bill Ward possibly? And he's going to try and get back into the race. The DGRE, Daniel Garrett Race Engine. So he's got one of Daniel's power units in his car as well.
It's ever closer then for the lead of the race, as Liam now, he's very much under pressure from Daniel Garrett as they make the climb in towards Druids. Liam has to go defensive, although that might not be the best place to be in today's conditions. So Dan Garrett tries everything he possibly can round the outside, but Liam then just runs the car slightly wide and then manages to cover the inside run down towards Graham Hill Bend. So for now, these two just delaying each other, which I think will bring Brad Horsnell into the mix at some point. But if Dan Garrett gets through, he could very much be on for the double here at Brands Hatch. He gets a good run along the Cooper straight. He's not quite alongside to make the move, so he thinks a better part of that one, just to save any contact between the two as they turn left and right through Surtees and McLaren. But Liam to Dan Garrett is definitely down in terms of the gap, and somewhere in the background you might be able to see Brad Horsnell just peering into shot there. So he is getting closer, and as we said, taking the number 13 car with him as well with Jack Linus, as out the corner there Dan Garrett was very much heading towards the grass and the gravel, but he managed to control it as best as he possibly could as he crosses the line for the 7th time of asking. Half a second just under between 1st and 2nd, and behind Brad Horsnell was half a second quicker than both of them to bring the gap down once again.
6.5 minutes of the race left to go then. Still a great fight going on between these two, but on the last lap it was Horsnell that took half a second outside of both of them. These two side by side again, similar story to what it was on the previous lap, and it's M that continues to prevail. So M it is that leads, Garrett in 2nd, carrying more speed down towards Graham Hill Bend, but has to scrub it all off again. But now is sideways coming out of the corner. Unable to get through. But maybe, though, if he's already comfortable that he's wrapped up the championship, he's maybe not quite so concerned about getting the victory, just enjoying his racing. But I'm sure most racing drivers would just want to get out there for the win. I mean, one thing that was now M makes a bit of a mistake, and that might give the lead to Garrett. Oh, no, Garrett's now got his hand on the air to say, no, after you, kind of thing. But one thing that drivers do need to be mindful of is that within 750 motor, if you pick up points on your licence, those also count as points deductions from your championship score as well. So as Trevor Thornton looks to recover, that is something that drivers need to be mindful of. Even though you might have thought you've clinched the championship, there could still be a mathematical possibility that something could happen in a later race that might reverse that.
Yeah, drive as safely as you possibly can. I think the other factor here, possibly for Daniel Garrett, is that he knows he's kind of wrapped it up, so he can take a few more risks now rather than kind of play it a little bit safe like he did in race number 1, where of course he did win it, but now he's thinking maybe I can play the game a little bit more as he tries to work his way past Liam. While they continue to do this, Brad Horsnell is getting closer and closer, because the gap now between Brad and the top 2 is down to less than 2 seconds, so he continues to charge with just under 5 minutes to go. Liam again has to go defensive on the run down towards 30, so no way through for Dan Garrett, but of course this is where Liam through the next corner made a mistake a lap ago, just ran slightly deep into the corner, but let's see if he can manage that car on this occasion. They turn through in towards McLaren. Yep, he takes a much tighter line this time, and hopefully he won't run out wide, which he doesn't, but of course with the slingshot that might again aid Dan Garrett to be a little bit closer. But for the third time, the back end just wants to step out, doesn't it, through Clark Curve?
They seem to sort of cancel each other out with these little moments that they have those. So first one has a moment, then the other. But as you say, Horsnell's getting into it. That time through, he took a couple of tenths out of Garrett, didn't really take any time out of Liam on that lap. But Horsnell still 1.7 seconds now behind Garrett. Jack Linus on that last lap was faster than any of the top 3. He was in the 10s, they were all in the 111. So Linus getting a bit closer to them as well. But we're now only sort of 3 laps or so, maybe 4 laps from the end of this race. Only 3 minutes 43 seconds left to go. But still, victory very much undecided here. Liam has somehow managed to hold it basically all the way through, but for how much longer? Garrett goes up the inside at Surtees, and that's the decisive move that we've not seen so far, but now has to work quite hard at the wheel to maintain the position. They've got the number 38 car ahead of them as well. That's the back marker, which is Freddie Morris, and they go either side of Freddie Morris. And is he going to manage to hold on to this? No, he's not. So it's Garrett that does, I think, complete that move. Garrett number 19 then takes the lead of the race with 3 minutes to go from Liam now in second place, but Bradley Horsnell, I think, probably still closely on them in third.
Checker flag is out, which is quite surprising considering there's 3 minutes left within the race. So yeah, very bizarre, but the checker flag is out, Ian. Yeah,
so possibly there's a car in a dangerous position or something like that they wanted to deal with before the end. So checker flag has gone out. Race coming to an early conclusion then. So it's Daniel Garrett then, who effectively on the last corner of the race takes the victory, number 19, from in second place number 5, Liam. Third is number 58, which is Bradley Horsnell. Fourth is number 13, which is Jack Linus. Fifth to number 29, which is Jeff Peake. And rounding out the top 6 then is number 57, Daniel Russell. So a slightly premature conclusion to that race. Ian Hardy 7th, Paul Clark 8th, Sean Brame 9th. He was on the lead lap this time, and Christopher Summers rounded out the top 10. And as I say, there's one more meeting to go for the low costs, and that is going to come at Mallory Park in October. But Daniel Garrett is already confirmed as the champion. So the cars will come in at the end of their slowing down lap, and they will head into pit lane and hopefully into a position where they can have a word with our interviewer down in the pit lane, which is Josh Barrett, of course. And yep, great racing as ever there, Matt, from the low costs.
Yep, certainly was great stuff, and the track conditions just starting to ease a little bit towards the end there as well. But you can see how slippery the conditions are today. Even with things happening with the weather, it's still hard to drive these low costs around the Brands Hatch Indy circuit.
Here's the result then. 10-lap race it was for number 19, Daniel Garrett, the race winner. He took the victory by 0.331 seconds from Lee M in second place, number 5. Third was number 58, Bradley Horsnell. Fourth, number 13, Jack Linus. Fifth, number 29, Jeff Peake. Sixth was 57, Daniel Russell. Seventh, number 50, Ian Hardy. Eighth, number 82, Paul Clark. Then ninth, number 88, Christopher Summers. Rounding out the top 10 was number 8, Sean Brame, ahead of Glyn Griffiths, Barry Stewart, David Berry and Alex Artis. Further back down the order, we saw in 15th place Tony Mole, ahead of Mark Rue, Alan Harmon, Keith Malpas, Steve Brown and Luke Stokes completed the top 20, with Kev Straw and Glenn Boyer also still on the lead lap of the race. So we still have 4 more races to come here this afternoon at Brands Hatch. We've got the Finish Line UK Classic Stock Hatch Championship coming up next, followed by the Aim Shot Mazda 7s, the Zamp Helmets Formula Vs and the Radical Bike Sports Championship to conclude the day's racing here at a rather damp Brands Hatch Indy circuit. A reminder that we've got the CSCC here tomorrow, Brands Britannia on Monday, and right now we've got Josh Barrett in the pit lane.
So we're down here after that Locost Championship race. Dan, well done, Dan. I've never seen someone so apologetic after winning a race.
I shouldn't feel bad because it's a race, but I feel terrible. he was faultless out there, and there was nowhere to take him. And I don't know, really. I thought, might as well go for it.
Well, we didn't realise it was the last lap. It was a slightly early finish, I think, and it turned out to be a last corner move you made to take the win. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was going to come into contact with Freddie. I didn't know if Lee was going to come drifting back over, but you got to take these little gaps, haven't you?
How tricky are the conditions been today? Because you're sliding around a lot, I notice.
Although it's been the same, it's been wet every single time. The track has been different every single time from start to finish, to be honest. But it makes for good racing. It makes for fun racing.
Well done to Dan Garrett, our race winner. Lee, we thought you were going to have it, and then that last lap it didn't quite go to plan.
You lot thought I was going to have it. I thought I was going to have it. Yeah, everyone thought I was going to have it. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, fair play to Dan. He did chuck a move down the inside, and it pulled off for him, and then we got caught with a back marker right at the end, and I thought, oh, he's gone left, I've gone right. You never know, but unfortunately I just couldn't quite make it back. But yeah, it was a good race. I mean, it was nice to lead the pack for the whole way around, so that was good. Yeah, really enjoyed it, and much better than race 1. Yeah. So
well done on your podium. We'll have a word with Brad before the next race. Bradley, another podium and another good battle you're involved in?
Yeah, obviously off the start, I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was something down on the grid spot or whatnot, but just dropped the clutch, went nowhere. So I think we were P6, P7 through paddock. But as the laps went by, I managed to pick a few off, get back into third. I had Jack behind me, who was keeping me honest, but we were catching the two in front as well. Obviously, the race was cut short a little bit, I think. I think a couple more laps and we would have been there, I think. But
will you be at the final round?
Possibly. It's a maybe. I hope to be. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
Okay, well done today, 2 podiums. So that's our top 3 from Locost. More racing coming up in a few moments' time.